if you build yourself up on the backs of your loyal audience, then they have a lot of power,
Mhm.
um, and they have a lot of power over what you do. So
Well, this is wonderful. I am very excited to be speaking with Katherine Connor Duff, the writer, director, and executive producer of This Little Piggy Goes to Market, which premiered at Dances with Films. Is that right?
yes, world premiere.
World premiere at Dances with Films. Katherine, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Honestly, we were just chatting, and I said to you, I am always amazed how 14 minutes can take you on such a ride, because this is a short.
Yes.
But there is so much going on here, and I think this is the fastest I've gone from humor to horror in a very long time. Um, where
Yes.
where did the film come from?
Yeah, so I would say that my oeuvre, like what I tend to gravitate toward, is social satire. I do have a comedic mind, so I like to lean into the absurdities of humanity. But I also think that things are funny until they're not. And so that's where you kind of get that find like crazy kind of almost circusy absurdity that's funny to watch, and then it quickly turns into with this short specifically mob mentality of the internet. So some form of dark human nature usually comes in at some point in my films. With this one specifically, I had an ex who had a foot fetish, and it was my first time encountering that, and I thought how funny and human and amusing and interesting and fascinating. And I saw that he followed all of these Instagram models on Instagram, thousands of them. And I said, he was in finance, he was a banker. I was like, maybe you shouldn't follow these women publicly because this is pretty sexual. But I looked at their profiles and I was like, this is a whole industry. This is fascinating. And that's kind of where the idea started. And then as I was making it, and as I started researching more into the world, I realized that I actually wanted to make more of a comment on not only the community online, but the internet itself, because that is something that resonated much more with me, and how we all kind of have to be selling ourselves, and we're all kind of encouraged to do that in this day and age, and told that that's how you make money and that's how you make yourself a success, with varying degrees of success, of course. And the machine says one thing, and then the human beings are trying to keep up with this new system, and that's what I really wanted to comment on.
Well, this is what I think is so interesting about this, to be honest, is because it's set in the world of OnlyFans, but there is this conversation about the internet and how we present ourselves right now. You and I are chatting over the internet, right? People build their perceptions. And because I in reference to the film, you've mentioned that the audience is not separate from the film. You're inside it. And it's certainly how you've built this with the different frames and whatnot. Can you talk about that tension of being in the film but also watching it play out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in watching it play out, you are a part of it. So essentially, like what I wanted to get into was complicity, right? The complicity of an audience member, because I feel that more so now than ever before, we have we are constantly an audience at all times because we're always on our phones. So it's like this thing that used to be relatively sacred, I suppose some artists say, like you go and you go to the theater, or you go to a movie theater, and then you have this time and you go and watch, and you have this wonderful this voyeuristic feeling, and then you leave and then you go live your life. Now, like, we're always voyeurs, like we're always complicit. We're kind of a constant audience at all times, unless we're the ones that are then putting our post forward or our live stream forward, whatever.
Mm.
um, so I think that that's an interesting dynamic that is relatively new. And it's something that I don't feel like we're talking a lot about how we have changed, and
Mm.
how who we put up on, like who we pay attention to, and how we treat these people, and what it does to the psyche to have a constant access and be a constant audience member. So I wanted to delve into that. And in terms of the audience being a part of it, I have boxes on screen for anybody that hasn't seen it. I have the live stream going on over here, and then panels, two men up here and one down here, and then there become more as the film progresses. But we then watch the men watching her. But her live stream, which was very important to me, is uncut. So it's like we watch her entire stream and we don't do anything, and we're not really able to do anything, but we are the unseen fourth box, like the audience is. And in the last scene, there is a little, and I don't want to spoil anything, but in the last scene, there is something at the very top box that says one viewer, and that's you. So the final viewer of the live stream is actually the audience member, was my intention there. It's not supposed to be Joe. It's supposed to be you, because she's facing us. So I often break the fourth wall in my films as well, but that's why I wanted the audience to really become a subscriber, because we're constantly scrolling past people all the time. And it strikes me as very, even though we have access to so many people and experiences and perspectives and everything else in today's world, I feel that we've become like maybe callous. I scroll past people, I scroll past 911 calls, I scroll past, sexual stuff. I scroll past people like bearing their hearts and souls. Please give me money. Scroll, scroll, scroll. And I'm like, I wonder what that does to you. Like when people are reduced to images and reduced to sections of themselves, because that's also all you get on social media are little sections of people. And if that's how we digest humanity, I'm not sure what that does to us as a society, but it's something to think about, or it's what
Well,
I'm thinking.
well, absolutely. This is actually what I wanted to ask you about this, because I mean, this is taking place in an OnlyFans world, but it could be Instagram, it could be uh oh my gosh, I was going to say skip the dishes. It can't be skip the dishes, but it can be the one with the ghost.
TikTok or YouTube or
Any of them,
anything.
any of
Yeah.
these things. Um, how in your mind has social media like that has it actually changed the way we interact as people? And has it actually cut a cord that we need?
Um, I I believe yes. Now I am also fair play to everybody and to, the new world, and I'm not somebody that is like we have to change and we have to go back. Like, no, Pandora's box is open. It's open. Like there's nothing you can do once it's open. So you kind of have to just use the system, and each person in each generation has a different madness. We are confronted with a different madness every generation, and it's just something that you have to deal with. I think that I think that it has somewhat changed. I definitely saw it in the dating world, which people talk about, but I did online dating a couple of years ago, like the apps and all that. And I think that there is this kind of lack of patience. I don't think that I think that it's a very insidious change, the way that it has changed people, but it's um, pillars like comparison, fantasy, living in fantasy, because you live on the screen and you're constantly comparing and you want that and you think that if you have that, it's consumerism on crack, right? I think a lack of patience with people. And so, people talk about the attention span, and that's not sure, but I think overall a larger point would be that kind of no, sit and listen though. Like people listen to each other and then think about, like, it's not just, oh, I heard buzzword. Like now I'm going to think of my response and not hear anything else that you say. It's like, no, actually listen to each other and then think about, like, get to know that person and be like, well, why do they think that? And like, what is it about them as a person that they feel this way? And like, are there any places that we relate? What is common ground? Like, I feel like people look more now, rather than for common ground, they look more for ways to win and ways to one up, which is human nature, I believe. I just think that it's been somewhat elevated in our time. I think it's just been elevated. So I think that making a conscious decision to try to listen and to lean into our humanity, because it's more important than ever, because you can bring in the AI conversation and the how people are having conversations more with their chat GPT than like other people. And so it's the humanity is so important. Like, let us try to reach each other even through the screen. Let us try to reach each other with our humanity and with our shared ground, more than ever before. I think it is important.
Yeah, that word humanity is so important for this one. And it's humor to horror in a
Yeah.
in a blink with this particular film. And with that being said, I'd like to ask you about the power of the face,
Hmm.
because I was as I'm watching the film, I thought it was very interesting that you do not show her face until absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And why was that such an important decision for you in making this film?
Yeah. So it's about the foot model herself, and I knew how I wanted to end it. So I knew that I wanted the audience to experience her face, especially if I wanted them to be that unseen fourth box.
Mm.
Then they needed to experience her face for the first time, along with the men that have demanded to see it. Um, I It was a challenge to do that, because how do you fall in love with somebody? Because I needed you to. How do you fall in love with her if you can't see her face, if you can't see her emotions and everything else? So it required 2 months of rehearsal with Celinda, who's played wonderful Penelope. It was really it was like a vocal performance for a majority of the film. So that was super interesting. But I think that and this definitely brings in the conversation about AI and the conversation about those micro expressions. It can bring in a conversation about plastic surgery too, and how much work you have done, and how much like how can you really create a human face anymore? Like, there are lots of conversations about the human face, but it's how we show emotion, right? More than anything else. Now, I do think that parts of the body can as well, which is why it was super interesting for me to focus on the feet, and that's why I did my credits with all the crew's feet, because I think that the human body, right, like shows a lot about our behavior and everything else. But I think that the humanity really shines through, of course, in the face. I think that there's a conversation to be had about sort of what I was talking about with the piecemeal that we see of people on social media. It's all very carefully manicured and curated, and where are we seeing humanity? Like, or are we seeing a fantasized version of people, of what they want to be perceived as, or what they wish they were? I think it's that, which then, like, it doesn't actually inspire connection, it inspires competition.
Yeah.
So, why I wanted her face as well. So, Sienna is a beautiful woman, and she's a model, and she's absolutely gorgeous. Uh, but I had her no makeup, like, no filters on the lenses, like completely bare and right up to the lens. And in that, like, naked almost, like she's been doing sexual things with the feet, but this is the most like naked she's going to get. And I had them react poorly, because number one, I did in my research, and I remember when it happened too. There was a streamer called Dream, and that's why this is not meant to be any kind of hit piece on men. Dream was a male streamer, and he wore a mask for many years, and he had this very sexy, masculine voice, and people just fell for him. And then after like 5 years, he was like, "I'm going to take off the mask." And that was a mistake, because everyone was like, "Ew, you're disgusting." And he was not a bad looking guy at all. He was, young and, good looking enough. But he wasn't Brad Pitt. So everyone was like, "Ew, like he's so gross. I wish he'd kept the mask on." Totally unnecessary vitriol geared toward him, but he could never live up to the fantasy of what people had spent 5 years watching and sending their money to, by the way, which is a very important aspect of it. People had been paying for the experience, and then
Mm.
he broke the fantasy. He broke that contract. this very specific parasocial contract that people have. So I needed the reaction to her face to be this kind of vitriol. Despite what she looks like, she could never live up to that fantasy. And I also believe that showing your full self, showing a version of yourself that is not curated on social media is usually the response is usually bad. If you're like, hey, I'm really struggling today and like I don't know how I'm gonna make rent, and like the video is not well done and it's just you with like a blurry phone and you're like, help me, like people are gonna be like, ooh, like that's kind of, sad or pathetic, unless, you're being filmed by some influencer that is like, help this person, and they have the camera in your face, and so there's lots of different ways to do it. But if it's not a format that like people immediately recognize, and it's not well done and it's not couched in the right framework, it's going to go poorly for you, at least from what I've seen. So that was important too, to have her completely bare, completely human, because I think that the social media sphere gears us toward perfection rather than showing humanity.
Well, absolutely, absolutely, and in this as well, I found it interesting. The clients are very interesting in this one too, because you're right. There's a lot of negativity, especially when the fantasy is broken.
Yeah.
Um, but there is before too, but also not. Some of them are very. I think one of them he says he's a classy guy, and she
Mhm.
refers to him as now. I mean, I know that's part of the stream, but some of these characters are not simply voyeurs in the tradition or the way that we would traditionally send or view them. Well, some very few of them are, I should say, but some of them aren't.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, they're subscribers, so like the idea is that a lot of them have like been following for years. They are her fan base, they are her loyal audience. Um, and I think that and it sort of goes back to that it's funny until it's not. I think that there's a shift that happens like very quickly, um, if you say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing on social media. So you have this loyal audience, and it's a very, we're in this time of turmoil in the industry, obviously worldwide. Forget the actors and the like writers, like we have bigger problems. But this is just my viewpoint on entertainment. We have, you know, um, you're kind of in the place where you have to try to build your own audience because the studio system's pipelines are deteriorating while we speak, right? And it's a waiting game of whether they choose to go full bore on the AI, whether they start opening up the doors a little bit and funding smaller films instead of spending $500 million every time. But in the meantime, no one knows what's going to happen. So I think that there is this kind of impetus to build your own audience, kind of grassroots thing, which I'm in full support of. It kind of reminds me of theater. I come from a theater background. It's great, but you have very little protection. And if you build yourself up on the backs of your loyal audience, then they have a lot of power.
mhm.
And they have a lot of power over what you do. So it's almost like, okay, well, you're not responding to a studio head, or you're not indebted to a studio head, but you are indebted to these people that lifted you up. And if you do anything or say the wrong thing or remove your mask or whatever, then I think that it's a dangerous place where you can throw the tomato. It's almost like the Shakespearean, like the Globe. You know what I mean? You have very little protection. You're right up close with the audience now. And if they throw their tomato, it's going to land on your face. Like they have that power to completely like shift and turn on you in a second if you do the wrong thing. So with her subscribers, I have the main three who are, bad guy, good guy, middle guy.
Yeah,
Structurally, that was important. Um, but I obviously had then characters who are on her live stream who appear only in comments until they appear with their faces
right.
through. And I think that they worship the idea of her. I think that she becomes a part of their day. because what have entertainers done? They started on the big screen, then they ended up on the TV in like your living room in the 50s or whatever. And now you hold them in the palm of your hand. So the audience has has gotten more and more power over entertainers, I believe, and more entertainers have become more accessible in say just since film started, since the like 20s, right? Um, and so I wanted to like kind of comment on that and comment on that kind of like I said that it's almost like a contract where it's like an agreed upon fantasy, but because you don't have a studio system building it around you, like say like you know Judy Garland was not on drugs, like she was perfect, and look at her in her, hot pants in her backyard in 1965 or whatever, and then she's dead 2 years later. Like there's no like these people don't have like a full PR team, like a majority, let's
Yeah.
say. Some of the influencers do, but the majority of them don't have it. So it's like it's only them trying to lift up this fantasy. And like, if you have 3,000 people watching, like Penelope, you're like, believe, believe, and it's just you and like your feet, right? Versus like, say, a studio system that is, might be chewing you up while it's happening, but it does give you some kind of protection. So she, I think, is a good streamer. I think she does a good job. I think she builds the audience properly. She gives these guys one-on-one time. And I had the character of Joe because I didn't want to. I'm not gonna say he's kind because like he's older and but he's decent. He's like a decent person who does reach out to her afterward and say, are you there? And I thought it was important to have there be somebody decent who is because there are I'm not so jaundiced where I'm like everybody is
Everybody's the worst.
right, exactly. I'm not a director writer who hates humans. I think that there are some directors who delve into satire like I do that have that reach the depths that I do, but from a point of view of hating humanity. And I hate humanity sometimes, but not all the time. And that's important.
I think that's, yeah, we have to cling to something. Well, that's what I love. This is the thing about Joe is that he stands out in
Mhm.
this toxic world, and there's something a little more genuine. You can argue about his role in this all you want, but he's a little more human than everybody else.
Mhm.
Um, oh,
And each one of them, like, I mean, he's grieving, so like
yeah,
he comes at it from a place of grief. But Yahoo, like, who's the Lyft driver, comes at it from a place of loneliness and feeling trapped. And then Legal Nightmare comes at it from a place of it's just a screen. I'm not like beating her up. I'm not doing anything bad. I'm just typing. So like all of them technically like have a recognizable human emotion. It's just of who's the most sympathetic, I suppose.
yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I said, this is a fascinating conversation from start to finish. I've seen we're running out of time, Catherine, but how can people find this little piggy goes to market next?
Yeah, so right now we are unknown. We just got a selection at California Women's Film Festival, so it'll be here again in LA over in Sherman Oaks. And then after that, we're just waiting to see. I probably will put up one of, because this is part of a series. It's called the Voyeur series. So this is number 3 of 3. So I will be putting the second one probably up on YouTube, pay deferred, because I think that one is ready to see the light. So that'll be happening in the next couple months. And then Piggy will be, I'll probably put that out next year once it's further through the film festival circuit. But for now, they can see it nowhere.
That's fair. Well, we can look forward to those moments when they can.
Yes.
Absolutely. Catherine, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's a joy to chat with you.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Katherine Connor Duff, writer, director, and executive producer of This Little Piggy Goes to Market. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.